B. Michael, what is your take on allegations, because they have been made, they've been raised by oppositions regarding electoral malpractice, including, vote manipulation and, procedural issues?
Yeah, you see, you can't prove exam cheating if the script are locked away. You need to, if there's a case about examination malpractice, then you need to actually check the record you have. Maybe if there's been a CCTV or something, or the script of the student. There has to be something to work with. So these allegations, they follow a familiar pattern in Uganda, as my other guest said. And it's a playbook that keeps repeating itself. I mean, the entire system structure in Uganda has been bought, from the judiciary to the legislature. It's been totally bought. So I don't know what exactly that can be transformational to bring about a real change in Uganda. If votes don't really count, some claims are credible, quite right. Like the delays and disruptions of the process, they're credible. But others, they lack the evidence due to restricted access. When international observers are not allowed to do their job, or the internet is shut down, whereby citizens cannot tally the information that is being released by the Electoral Commission with what they have, with people on ground, and agents are being intimidated. I mean, so it calls for concern. Whether there's really a need for an election in such a country, where a place where it seems like it's a monarchical democracy, whereby it's actually more like a monarchy, autocracy, but democracy is being used as a smokescreen for such governance. It's quite unfortunate that this has been happening. It's been so cemented in the system. If not, it wouldn't have happened for decades. Something that's been happening for decades has become institutionalized, and it's not good for Africa. When you look at Uganda as a country compared to other Eastern African nations, they're far behind in a lot of ways, and everything rises and falls on leadership. And it's proven that Museveni government is not working for the Ugandan people, and they desperately need a change. And I hope they'll get it someday.
Let me come to you now, B. Michael. How would you, because when we look at elections now, right, security forces play a huge role. As we speak right now, it's reported that Bobi Wine has been placed under house arrest. So that means he's surrounded by security forces. How would you assess the role and the conduct of security forces during the voting and the counting, particularly in opposition strongholds?
Yeah, I'll say they've been quite selective in their operation, and it's quite unfortunate because security forces, they're meant to be as neutral as possible. They must first see themselves as Ugandans, protecting the Ugandans as irrespective of their political affiliation. But that's not what we are seeing, and it's not something that just happened, during voting or after. It's something that's the intimidation has been even before election day. It's been during the rallies, on the run up of the campaign. It's like having a candidate having a rally, and the police are not stationed at the opposition's rally. It's quite unfair, because anything could happen, and it's going to affect everyone, irrespective of it could affect everyone irrespective of their political affiliation. I feel they've been heavy-handed and intimidating, to say the least. And security presence, went beyond, the neutral enforcement that they're meant to show, opposition's area. Because of this kind of unprofessional behavior, opposition definitely will feel targeted and enraged and powerless. And the effect of this is that they will devise their own ways of securing themselves. Maybe they'll hire like a private security agency or something to protect themselves. So it's very important that the security forces, they first of all understand that, see, we are Ugandans, we are all Ugandans. We owe a duty of care to every Ugandan, irrespective of their political affiliation. But then it's like Uganda, you will pay the piper to its tunes. Like I said earlier, that the system has been bought, from security to to the parliamentarians, to you name it. It's been to executive, legislative, judiciary. They are all for the current administration. It seems more like an autocracy taking place. And when the system has been a corrupt system has been institutionalized, it's very difficult to tear down, and it's quite unfortunate that security forces have been quite heavy-handed and intimidating.
Now, Mr. Bolu Michael-Biyi, can we confirm if there were any safeguards put in place to ensure that, there were any manual voting procedures complied, with electoral laws and, international standard?
All right. So I think a person that probably was on the field would be able to, confirm. But based on precedents, I can speak based on precedent that usually the safeguards they do exist on paper, but they're actually quite weak in practice. The oversights depend on the polling agents who are now, largely missing. That's the effect of intimidation. They're being arrested. They're not on ground. Imagine their safety rules without inspectors. That's how it's like. When compliance is very questionable, when there are no umpires and people on ground to actually verify what's going on as regards their party or their district or anything that may concern them. So when there are no observers and things like that, the government of the day, they have the liberty to do anything they want, to maybe fingerprint, to do whatever they want to do, which is not good. It just makes the election a sham and a waste of time of people who actually want genuine change, people who left their jobs or took a leave to get to the police station, the person who probably isn't feeling too well, gets under the sun. People have sacrificed for their change. And these electoral officers and even the security operatives must understand that they're forced to use, Ugandans, and that at the end of the day, they're civilians. They are not paying a different price in the market for tomato or whatever because they're security forces. They do feel they will eventually get their uniforms off and go back to their families and sleep on their bed as civilians. That's the reality. They're not paying anything extra. They're not paying any extra, a different price for tomato or food in the market because they're security operative. So they too must understand that the change that if they do their work appropriately and they see to the change in their country, they're actually doing that for their children, not just for themselves. And I hope that after the election, even during this season, they will sit down and reflect on their actions and whether it really makes sense or is meaningful to maybe rig election for government that is not working for them.
I'll come to you now. I'll ask the questions to be Michael. How might the outcome of this election, because it's quite important, how will the outcome of this election influence Uganda's democratic institutions and, the governance framework moving forward?
All right. The outcome of the election, might actually make, Ugandans and the international community question whether democratic institutions actually do exist. Because this is a system that's been in place for decades, and it seems to just be repeating and perpetuating itself. And as the years go by, decades go by, they sharpen these skills and system manipulating election results. It's basically one player controlling the entire team strategy, which is not good for the country. It reinforces executive dominance, which is deeply entrenched in Uganda's governance framework today. Institutions, they remain weak relative to the presidency. It seems that the presidency is probably the most powerful that call the shots and all that. But there's a need for checks and balances. They need to understand that when the other arms of government are functional, when the legislature, the judiciary, they're working, it helps the executive in doing their jobs as well. If the executive are effective, it helps the judiciary to do their job as well. It's for the benefit of every Ugandan. It's for the benefit of every arm of government. But when the systems are weak, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So the outcome of the election only makes the momentum of reforms to be slower, and you start to ask questions like, okay, when is this change really going to come? And what am I of is that this might significantly further damage, the standing of Uganda in the eyes of the international community, or they kind of be like, okay, there's really not much we can do about this country, maybe not much resources to even fight over it and stuff like that. And you can be a small country, you can be a country with not so many resources, but have a good reputation in terms of governance. We will make Ghana a reference, we make Rwanda a reference in East Africa. It's not like they have all the resources, it's not like they have all the infrastructure in place, but their system, their structure are things that we can point at as a model for other African countries to follow. And I wish Uganda could be that country, because there's such amazing people, wonderful people, great people. It's just unfortunate that the governance and the governance framework or system there in terms of the democracy is not really working, in my opinion.